Season 4 Miguel versus Season 5 Hawk. Who wins? Probably a pretty interesting subject, but after analyzing some feats and scaling, I've built up enough reasons for why this battle is more complicated than people think. And in this video, you're going to find out why. But first, let's clear up something people need to know. Basically, Season 5 Hawk would lose to Season 4 Eli. Reason is, Hawk after Season 4 didn't train for 70% of the season, which would obviously make him rusty. We can clearly see this when in Season 4 previously, Eli absolutely destroys Kyler, then slightly rusty Eli destroys Kenny at the water park, and he beats Robbie. And then later on in Season 5, Hawk proceeds to get packed by Kenny and Kyler individually, and likely would have lost to Robbie.
Where's the medic?
That's a forfeit.
And by the way, Hawk held back on Kenny in round 1, but visibly got more serious in round 2 and 3, and when he goes all out, he just gets negged by the silver bullet. And against Kyler, he wasn't only using Miyagi though, cause he literally goes on the offense at some point. Now of course, Kenny and Kyler both got exponentially stronger themselves, but if Hawk was really above his Season 4 self, who both Kyler and Kenny would actually get slammed by, then they wouldn't be able to close the gap on Hawk so easily. It's clearly Hawk being rusty. Another piece of evidence for Hawk being rusty is Terry saying Hawk is one of the best fighters in the valley, and the last Hawk he saw was in Season 4. And in Season 5, Hawk was getting packed by 2 people who he didn't list on there, so it's obvious Hawk is just not as strong anymore due to being rusty. Lastly, Eli in Season 4 defeats a Robbie with 2 amps, being his No Mercy amp from the start of the tournament, and his Rage amp, because Kreese also clearly tells Robbie to tap into his anger. And Season 5 Hawk has no wins on people that scale to that Robbie. And no, Season 5 Hawk does not scale the Tory Stone feat in any way, it's literally impossible to prove that. And saying his progress is comparable to Sam is also null, because neither could you prove that. Hawk simply has no great feats this season to prove he's past his Season 4 self. And if you want to say, ooh, Hawk wasn't going all out the whole season. Yeah, sure, but if you say that, I'd like you to try to quantify how strong going all out Season 5 Hawk is, because I'll tell you something, he does not have relative scaling to Miguel or Robbie this season. Oh, and I forgot earlier in the video to address the argument of Hawk's leg being injured, so that's why he got negged by the silver bullet. But this wouldn't really matter because his punch still travels to Kenny in literally less than half a second in slow motion, and he threw a punch, not a kick, so his leg being injured wouldn't matter that much. And I know you have to use your leg to throw a punch, but the thing is, Kenny's faster than him anyways, so it wouldn't matter because Kenny would just neg him with the silver bullet before Hawk can actually react. Alright, with that aside, let's get to the real battle. Since I addressed Hawk's side, let's address Miguel's. Going back to Terry's statement earlier about the best fighters in the valley, Terry lists Miguel on there. Now, this is obvious, but the real pointer here is that the only Miguel Terry has actually seen is his no confidence version, who has no to very low scaling to peak Robbie, who he also lists on that exact same list, because Miguel was very relative to Miyagi-Do Eli, and the same Eli would go on to get packed by Robbie with 1 amp, meaning that Terry himself basically admits that Prime Season 4 Miguel would be able to put up a fight with Prime Robbie and Prime Eli. And of course, you could argue Miguel wasn't at his best in the pool fight, but he would still lose peak Season 4 Robbie and Eli. Anyways, like I said earlier about Hawk being rusty, Terry believes no confidence Miguel would beat the likes of Kenny and Kyler, who Hawk once again was getting pressed by. So I could say safely, peak Season 4 Miguel would beat Season 5 Hawk. To recap, Hawk is rusty in Season 5 and loses to Kenny and Kyler, while Season 4 Miguel, when not very close to his best, has Silver's approval and believes that specific Miguel, who's barely at half his full potential, could beat Kenny and Kyler, who Hawk loses / gets pressed by.